Welcome to the Travel Business Unpacked, where passion meets possibility. Here's your host, #1 Amazon bestseller, Meredith Calloway.
Hello, and welcome to the Travel Business Unpacked podcast. I am your host, Meredith Calloway, and today's guest is a longtime member of GTN's Top Producer Club, and owner of H Luxury Travel. Welcome to the podcast, Julie Ann Hargett. How are you, Julie Ann?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
I'm very excited to unpack things with you on this episode. But yeah, I think first of all, congratulations. Um, as long as we've had a Top Producers Club, you have been a member of the Top Producers Club and a recipient of a Top Travelist Specialist Award by Condé Nast, which is unbelievably incredible. That was always on my wish list when I was a travel advisor. So congratulations on that too.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is very, very amazing. So, as if we are talking about the travel business journey in the phases that I like to refer to, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, you are in phase 4. You have arrived at the final destination that a lot of people never get to. And so we have a lot to talk about here because you represent, unfortunately, a minority of the travel advisor community, because most people get stuck in what I call phase 2, which is the break even phase. Sales about 500,000 and your revenues are basically equaling your expenses to run the business.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to get past it. So first and foremost, tell us how you got into the business and became a travel advisor.
Yeah. So it kind of, I don't want to say fell in my lap because that sounds a little bit too lucky, but I had worked in corporate America. I have 2 kids. And when I had my oldest, I stayed home with my kids. And I always knew I wanted to go back to do something. My husband has a very demanding job. So I knew that I had to have something that had some flexibility. And I
Mm.
really wasn't looking to go back to work just yet. I was planning an anniversary trip for my husband and an acquaintance connected me with another acquaintance. And I said, "This is what I've planned. This is what I'm doing." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, you should be doing this." I didn't even know that this was actually a career.
Right.
So I said, Let me go on my trip first. Let's see how this part goes." And when I returned, she reached out and we talked about working with her, Virtuoso, kind of the whole business. And I really wanted to learn. I knew it wasn't something I was going to dive headfirst into right away. And so I went to work kind of under another advisor. She actually lives up in Nashville. We still keep in touch. And that's how I started learning the business and Virtuoso and kind of how everything works behind the scenes. She had a lot of life changes. She wasn't in a place where she wanted to grow her business or her brand. And once I started the business and really got into it and started learning things, I was like, there's so much that can be done here.
Mm.
Um, from systems to marketing and brand, just so many things that can be done. And so the host agency at the time, this was years ago, they reached out and she and I talked and she was like, "You have so much that you want to do." And she wasn't in the place where she wanted to do that. And so I started my own business. I started H Luxury Travel in July of 2019, just in time for a global pandemic to come along.
Yeah, right.
So, and a lot of people would say, "Oh, it killed the industry. It killed a lot of things." It did. There were a lot of things that suffered. But it was a great time to really dive into processes, dive into the way you want to run your business. And I had previously met Erica Carr, which of course you know with Book It Box Travel.
Yeah.
And she was the one who said, I want you to come to GTN. I think this is a great fit for you. And I mean, nobody had any business moving. No one was going anywhere.
Yeah.
Also a great time to really look at, what do I want my structure to look like? What do I want my business expenses to look like? Is this a good fit for me? And that's when I came over to GTN and the early spring, like March to May, that time frame of 2020.
Of
So
2020.
still very
In
much
the
in
thick of the shutdown.
yeah. much in the thick of the shutdown. But it was interesting because May, June, July of 2020, when people were like, "We're ready to get out of the house," I had my processes ready. I was marketing myself via social media. And this was when I had very little business. I mean, had not been doing this very long. And I had a few clients that reached out and were like, we want to do this with our family. We want to be safe about it. And those trips started happening when people started being able to travel. And then things just really took off from there.
Yeah. I'm curious, where did you go on that anniversary trip that you planned?
Oh, we went to Italy. My book of business is not at all surprising because Italy is a huge, huge chunk of our business.
Yeah. So
And I've been
speaking
to
of
it for years, so.
yeah, um, speaking of that, I know if somebody is considering this career path, one of the biggest, most pressing questions on their mind is, well, how did you get the clients? How did you build the book of business to get to where you are today?
So that is I will say there's a stroke of luck in that. There's also doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And I feel like one reason that I have remained relatively small, but still successful is we have that human component. And one thing that I have really tried to focus on, and, Kara that works for me, Jamie that works for me, is don't get so big that you can't manage what you have and you can't
Mhm.
still provide the quality service and the expectations that all of your clients have had all these years. I mean, we have a lot of repeat clients. And at this point, all of our business is referral based.
Referrals or repeat. Yep.
And so I think when you do what you say you're going to do and you provide the level of service that you say you're going to provide, then those people come back and they tell their friends. And that's really how our business was built. And so it's, there's ebbs and flows in any business. And
Yeah.
like we were talking about, it's not all butterflies and rainbows. There are some people, you're not a donut. You're not going to make everyone happy. And so there are times when people have not been happy and you go above and beyond to try to correct that. Um, for example, we had a client last year. She went to Italy. She was visiting her daughter and then she went on another trip and she just wasn't thrilled with the way the trip went. And I was like, what can we do to make this right?
Mhm.
And she came back and now she's on another trip right now because we went out of our way to mend that.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't have the most amazing trip and it was like one thing in, Lake Como. It wasn't like the whole trip, but she
Right.
wasn't happy about a few things, whatever it was. And so we really went out of our way to fix that and to make it right. And so she came back again and she sent us a client that went to Spain. And so I think really sticking to your word is important because so many people don't do that nowadays.
Yeah. Sticking to your word, being able to deliver um, a level of service that matches the level of travel that they're experiencing. So you are basically a representation of luxury travel. So you need to be able to deliver your own service at that same level. How would you differentiate being a luxury travel advisor from being a more mainstream travel advisor?
So I think for us particularly, it's pairing our partners with the right client.
Yes,
And
100%. It's a matchmaking. I mean, it was a matchmaking service.
and one of the things that is super important to me, and I mean, I know it's not for everybody, but it is very important to me. I only work with partners that provide 24/7 in-country access. And that is for my benefit, but it's
Yeah.
also for my client's benefit.
Oh, yeah.
I started this as, something that I wanted to do and that I'm passionate about, but I also have two kids. I cannot answer the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I also find that when you explain to clients, you want someone in country that has your back if anything were to happen. They understand that that time difference makes a huge difference in being able to communicate back and forth. And so
Yep.
they can have a WhatsApp message or a text message or whatever to our partners directly in country. And that has made a huge difference in our clients and the quality of their travels.
Would you say you do mostly DMCs, work with DMCs? Do you sell any cruises at all?
A little bit. We do. So we've had several, like the Ritz Carlton Yacht Collection. I'm actually going on the inaugural Four Seasons yacht.
Ooh, wow.
Crystal is a popular cruise line, but I would say those are definitely like high end. They're
Yeah.
not just like a run of the mill cruise. They're definitely more high end.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
have that level of high touch service quality that our clients would expect.
Yeah. I love that you said about the fact that, like, now that you have built this book of business, it's all referrals or repeat business. And that is something that I think is somewhat unique to luxury travel, versus not, mainstream travel, is that if you do a really good job on delivering that service, if you listen, if you pay attention, if, like you said, what you said, you do what you say you're going to do, you follow through, and you're one step ahead of them. If you do that, they will come back and they will refer people. And so, while there's a lot of focus and effort in our travel MBA program on the marketing side of the business, which starts with branding,
Absolutely.
you really can take your foot off that accelerator once you build the momentum and really, start seeing the repeat business, the referrals coming. Of course, you always have to market. You're a business owner, but you don't have to be like coming up with strategy after strategy after strategy, and you're not stressing about the phone not ringing, because it kind of feeds itself. So I love that you have that experience. Let's turn a little bit to, like, the flexibility, like you said. Um, I say that when you have freedom, fulfillment, and financial satisfaction, you have arrived at entrepreneurial success. And that also translates into a life you love. You get to have a business that's awesome, that feeds your soul, but you also get to live a life you love because you get to make decisions, that are like, you get to prioritize things in your life and make decisions based upon that. Talk to me about, building a business while raising 2 kids.
So I think the flexibility was a little bit of a misnomer when you first start, because it
Yeah,
sounds like it's super flexible, and it is until you get really busy.
right.
And those are like the growing pains of running a business. You're
Yes.
trying to figure out, okay, I have these 2 kids that are my priority and my responsibility, but then you want to do what you say you're going to do with your clients. And so there are growing pains. You have to pick and choose. I mean, there are a lot of things that I say no to, whether it's socially, not getting to go with a friend or go have dinner or something like that, especially, the middle to end of 2020 through 21 and 22. Those were big growth years. And
Yes.
those were the years that you kind of just put your head down and you have to put everything into your business. And that's hard. But like you said, now I've kind of got to a point where I have a great marketing team. There are things that I still say no to. I love to support other businesses, especially other small businesses. So if someone comes to us and they're like, "Hey, can you do whatever X, Y, and Z, a Disney something or another?" Not that we don't do any Disney, but we don't do the run of the mill Disney specialist. And so we have somebody we refer that to, and then they have in turn referred clients to us that wanted a really big trip to Italy. And so building those relationships, that takes time. Nothing happens
Mm.
overnight. And so, yeah, you have to make the sacrifices up front to get the rewards on the back end.
Yeah. Yep. But as a mom, as a business owner, as a wife, as, I don't know, you probably have other interests and passions.
It's not easy. It is not
Yeah.
easy. And, when people say, "Oh, it seems like you have everything," nobody has everything.
Mhm.
I am fortunate. I have help. And we've had a lot of help when our kids were younger. And
Mhm.
that allowed me the flexibility to put more into my business when I had someone that could maybe pick the kids up from Mother's Morning Out or drop them off for this or that. Now I'm at a place where I am taking a little bit of not a backseat, but a little bit of a step back because I have a freshman in high school, and
Yeah.
it's going by so fast, and I
Yes.
want to be able to be more involved in what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
And so when I started my business and when I really dove in, my kids were a little bit younger, and yes, I had plenty of time with them, but I also was able to build the business in a time frame that wasn't as crucial as the last 4 years of high school, or middle
Mhm.
school. And
Yep.
so, I mean, it's not easy. It's, some people look at social media and they think, "Oh, well, so and so has everything and they're doing all the things." Like, I'm not doing all the things.
Yeah.
I have an amazing client care coordinator. I have an amazing IC. My husband's great. He's very supportive, and my mom helps when I need her to if I'm on a trip. But it's a balancing act, and
They see the highlight reel, right?
it's
Other people
people see the highlight reel and they're like, "Oh, this life is amazing," and I'm like, "Let me show you the blooper reel." Because that's where you the blooper reel is where you've done some growth, and that's really kind of the meat of your business, and yeah, I mean, I would say that's really 22, 21, 22, and 23 were such growth years that
they
I
were.
and we moved, and so I
Right.
feel like that was even now, I feel like I'm coming out of a fog of really big business growth, moving my family, and so doing things like this now is fun and a little bit more of a leisure for me because I have kind of come to a little bit of a quieter place where I can think more clearly to do that.
I love that. I really love it. You said that you were lucky because you had help when the kids were younger, and I wouldn't call it lucky. I would call it smart. I mean, I'll tell you that when I started my business, um, I remember I had actually it was a couple years into my business, but the year that my 3rd child was born, um, that was, like, one of the most stressful times of my life because I was running a business. I had a child off to kindergarten, and I had actually 1st grade and no, kindergarten, 2nd grade, and a newborn at home. And so the 2 would go off to school in the morning, but I'd still have this newborn and trying to do what you need to do for your business, but also deal with the newborn was literally draining me, and stressing me out, and oh my goodness, I was so wound up, it's not even funny. And I had a coach at the time, a business coach, and she finally, like, had a talking to with me, and she's like, "Are you committed or are you dabbling? And, if you're committed, you need to give yourself permission to create blocks of time where you can focus only on your business, and that's not gonna be just between when they're napping, when the baby's napping."
Right.
Um, so she gave me permission to not feel guilty about hiring childcare, um, and I think that is a massive struggle for women in entrepreneurship, especially when you have young kids or babies at home and you feel like, "Well, I quit corporate so I could be home with the child, but now I'm trying to build this business. There's no way I can hire help because I'll feel so guilty that I'm doing that, like, I should have just stayed in corporate." And I think it's a topic that not everyone likes to talk about because, we're afraid to out ourselves, as a, not so loving mother, right?
Right. Well, and I was reading something the other day, and it was like a little, I'm not going to quote it exact, but it was talking about like the number of hours women work and spend time with your kids and what's expected of them. And it's unrealistic. It's really
Totally,
just unrealistic. And it's not that men expect this of us. It's that we've
yeah,
expected it of ourselves. We have
yeah,
put this on ourselves. And so we have to be able to take a step back and say, it's okay to have someone help because no
yeah,
one can do it all. Um,
yes,
and so I didn't have a newborn when I started this. But my youngest was 2 when
yeah,
when I initially started learning, the industry and all that. But yeah, I mean, you have to give yourself permission, as you said. You have
yeah,
to, because otherwise you're not doing anyone any good. Not your business, not yourself, and not your
exactly,
family.
right,
And so
exactly.
you have to, you really have to look at what makes the most sense. And of course, everybody's situation is different. It's,
Yep, yep,
can we financially do this and still do this and,
mhm,
kind of weigh those things out.
yeah. Absolutely. Everyone's different, everyone's situation different, and everyone's version of giving themselves permission is gonna look different too. So for me, I, spent, like, I think I had 10 or 11 years of having an au pair in the house, and that was amazing. It was such a good situation for us. But, um, yeah, so, I mean, it can look different for everyone.
Yeah,
Um, I wanna switch gears and talk about your secret sauce, like, what is H Luxury Travel's secret sauce, and how does that relate to your brilliance?
oh goodness. Well, you're very kind to say that I'm brilliant. So I truly think, and I know we touched on it a little bit, but I truly think it's our ability to get to know our clients and go above and beyond. One thing that we have all of our clients, with the exception of some of my very original clients that now I just know so well, all of our clients have to come through our website. And so when they are filling out that form, this is how we are getting to know them. After our complimentary call, which I think is super important because you can read a piece of paper, but when you get on the phone with somebody and you hear their voice and their
Right.
inflection and their tone, and
Yep.
sometimes they say different things, and you're making all these notes so that you're really like pulling it all full circle. Like, okay, what are they really looking for? Because sometimes people say they're looking for one thing, but they don't know what they don't know. And so,
Mhm.
not just this digital place of typing in a hotel and typing in a spa appointment or typing in, we want to really get to know our clients. And I think that is where we've had the most success is truly diving in, making ourselves available for phone calls. You have a complimentary call, and then once they've paid our design fee and we get started, if they want to have another call, that's fine.
Yeah.
Making ourselves available to really be on their level at whatever their level is. Some clients are like, I want an email and I don't want to have a phone call. Okay, fine. We will do the best we can, but they're going to get a form from us before other clients that we have phone calls because there's so many things that are in the form that are important. There are some things that are, just basic information, but like diving deeper into what does your weekend look like? If you could have any weekend in the world, what does that look like?
Yep. Yep.
Not just like, what do you like to do on a Friday? What's your favorite wine? Those things are important and we love to know those things, but we want to dive deeper and really have that, feel like your best friend, like component.
Yeah, I love that. I
So,
think what you just
our-
described.
yeah, our
Go
customer,
ahead.
like just being there for our clients and, being that service avenue for them.
I think what you're describing is like a version of the definition of luxury,
Yeah.
um,
And I think that looks
because
different for everybody.
does look different for everybody, but that's basically what you're saying is, like, understanding what that looks like for each client
Exactly.
and then anticipating their needs so that you almost read their mind.
Therapist. I would love to be a mind reader, but, and that's so true. And some people are like, "Well, we wanna travel the way you travel." Well, the way I travel may not be the way you wanna travel. So let's dive a
Right.
little deeper into what does that look like? Does that look like when you land at an airport, you want someone standing right there to take you straight to your car? Or does that look like you've checked into your hotel and they have your favorite bottle of champagne sitting there?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
there are so many things that it could be, and it's
Yeah.
our job to find out what that is for our clients.
Or do you want every single minute planned out, or do you want a couple of spontaneous days, days with no itinerary layered into the itinerary?
Yeah, and those things are so important, and I feel like you really can't get that by just typing online.
Yeah.
Because the reality is we are all super busy. People don't read. I mean, people do not read anymore. You send an email and it's like, "Oh, wait," whatever. And I'm guilty of the same thing. I do not read I'm terrible at reading directions on, something I'm putting together. It's like, "Oh, I can figure this out." But you miss stuff when you don't read and when you
Right.
follow through. And so
Right.
when people are just typing a form, a lot of times it's like you can tell they're in a hurry. And so you want to have that phone call so you can give yourself the 20 minutes, whatever you have, whatever the client has. We obviously read cues.
Mhm.
But you want to be able to, like, have those conversations when everybody has the time to do it on their time so that they're giving you what or giving us what we can use to make their trip better
Yeah.
and memorable.
So you love what you do, and you clearly have a passion for travel, right? And I mean, like, if I were to have met you 10 years ago, I would have been, like, all over you for our travel MBA program. Like, you are our avatar. Come, I have a program for you.
Yes. I know
Uh,
I missed the travel MBA because
yeah.
I was already in.
Yep, you were already in, but that's okay. We found you anyway, so I
That's
love
right.
that. I think we are a really good fit for you. So Erica was very smart.
And Sandy was doing these amazing talks, I think on Facebook
Okay.
during the pandemic. It was like how to stay on top of your travel business
Yeah.
while no one's traveling.
Yeah.
Just different and Erica was like, "You've just listen to one," or I don't
Yeah.
know, something, but I was like, I really like that they're not just, like, rolling over and playing dead because
Right.
the world is shut down.
Yeah.
And you guys were diving in and
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, these are great tips that you could be doing," or "What plan these things, while you can't go anywhere. Do a Zoom wine night." I don't know. So there were all these different things. I didn't do that, but I thought it was really unique that GTN was staying on top of, this is going to end at some
Yes.
point, and you need to be ready when it does.
Yes. I mean, we kept saying the comeback is always better than the setback, and this is the greatest setback the travel industry has ever seen. So we are about to see the greatest comeback the travel industry has ever seen, and boy, did we see it.
Yeah.
Um, but I want to ask about, for someone who's thinking about this and they're a little bit doubtful, do I have what it takes? Do I truly have an expertise in travel? Is my passion big enough? What what did Julianne look like before she was a travel entrepreneur? Like, uh, you researched for your, anniversary trip that you were planning with your husband. Did you did you spend a lot of time looking at travel magazines, or like, tell me a little bit about your behavior before you professionalized this passion?
Right. So I worked in corporate America before I had my kids. I worked for Pfizer up in the Chicago area.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so I traveled a lot for work then. And my husband and I, we were married for 6 years before we had kids. So we traveled a lot together. It was something we enjoyed doing already.
Yeah.
And then my mom has always laughed. She was like, "You've always been this very resourceful person." Still, people will text me and say, didn't you tell me about this or whatever? And I'm like, here's a
Yeah.
link. It's probably somewhere. Yeah, so I am very resourceful and I do like to do research on the back, the front end before I'm, going into something. And so, yeah, 15 years ago or more, all the travel magazines were kind of really the majority of where you were looking for new
Yeah,
places or different.
for sure.
So, yeah, that exactly what I would do. And I always kept really good notes from anywhere we had ever been. And because we lived in Chicago for so long, I had this whole list of places to go in Chicago. So people would reach out to me frequently, like, "Oh, I know you were in New York. Where are the places you like to eat?" At one point, I had a list of over 200 restaurants in New York, which I had to clean out because I was like, this is too much. No one wants to read through this. I don't even want to read through it anymore. And then, we had been to Napa several times, and San Francisco and San Diego and Chicago. I mean, just all these places. And so I always kept these great notes. So I had a lot of information. It was just, let's put it into a place. Now we use Canva because it's beautiful. There wasn't a Canva 15 years ago,
Right.
but yes, I mean, I would have researched everything. And, I think anything that you're going to do, regardless if it's travel or some other business you want to start, you're going to have those little voices in your head that are like, "Oh, do you think you can
Yeah.
do this?" And it's really just like taking the bull by the horns and saying, "Yes, I'm going to dive in." And
Right.
you don't overthink it. You're going to make mistakes and then you're going to do some really amazing things. And so you can't overthink it. You just go with it. Go with your gut. Um,
Yeah. What surprised you most about this journey?
oh, that's a tough one. Some days I'm most surprised that we've been so successful. I'm like, wait, how is this my life? This is amazing.
Oh, love that answer.
think learning the industry, because there are so many different facets of the industry.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're not going to go into all those in this podcast, but there are so many things, just whether it's representation companies and DMCs or, this hotel preferred partner, there is so much to learn and you cannot know it all. No one knows it all. And the world is a huge place. So I think really for us, we do use a lot of DMCs, but I also
Mhm.
think, kind of narrowing down like what your niche is. Like you can't just be like, I'm going to book travel for everywhere.
Yeah.
We were primarily, certainly we're luxury travel, but we are primarily family travel. Family
Right.
travel and like celebrations. So couples celebrating anniversaries or
Yeah.
big moons, like honeymoons, whatever. We don't even do a lot of honeymooners anymore because I'm way out of that phase of life. But occasionally we will. So anniversaries, college graduations, those type of trips. It's like maybe we did a trip for a couple and then now they want to do something as their whole family, or we did a trip for a family and then now their grandparents want to take the whole family somewhere. So
Right.
we do a lot of family travel. And I think when you dive kind of into your niche and you stay in your lane, then you're able to become more of an expert in that area
Mhm.
versus trying to be an expert at everything.
Yeah.
Um, and so, for someone who's starting a business, you need to niche down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
'Cause you can be an expert in your niche, but you can't be an expert in everybody's niche. I'm not a Disney expert.
Yeah.
I do not
Right.
know to tell you to go eat lunch at the Magic Kingdom. But if you're staying at the Four Seasons and you want to do VIP for 3 days, I've got you all day long.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
that's how
Yep.
I'm gonna go to Disney. I'm not
There's
going.
there's a luxury way to do Disney for sure.
Just knowing what and some of that comes with your passion. Like, I mean, we have like I said, the girl that we refer a lot to for Disney, like basic Disney, that is her passion. She
Yeah.
probably goes to Disney 10 times a year.
Right.
I would cry if I had to go to Disney 10 times a year. So it's just it's staying in what you know and where your passion is. And that really shines through in what you do as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. What about struggles? What struggles have you had?
Oh my goodness, that list is really long. Then there's, the general, do I hire somebody now or do I wait? And then
Do I
so oftentimes you want to wait because you think like the budget and like financially, can I afford to hire somebody?
Right. Right.
Usually you wait too late and you should have already hired somebody.
Mhm.
And that was a struggle for me, 21 and 22. It was like, do I hire somebody or do I not? And then I really waited a little bit too long and I needed more support. And so, growing pains, you live and you learn. Systems, keeping your systems up to date. Technology moves so quickly. That's always, I don't want to say it's not really a struggle, but it's always a challenge.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm constantly looking at. Are these forms where we need them to be right now? What should we change something here and there? The hiring one is a big one, though. I think that is
Yeah.
definitely something, and I don't think it's just in the travel industry. I think it's in any small business. You want to get to a certain place before you start hiring, and then sometimes you wait a little bit longer to get there. And then balance. I mean, we've already talked about this. But balance is always a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
always
that's not going anywhere. That's everyone's struggle.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
for sure.
and then
Um,
setting boundaries. Like that was one thing that I wish I had done earlier in my career is not be available to everybody 24/7. Like
oh,
we have
yeah.
processes, we have, you know, systems in place so that we have time as well.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
And most of the time, it's not life or death, right? It's like
Your spa appointment in Rome is definitely not life or death or whatever. I guess you look at the spa.
exactly.
Like your Michelin restaurant can wait until in the morning.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Precise.
and having those boundaries and really setting those firm steps up front are
Yeah.
important.
So you have experience planning travel for clients before the pandemic and now after the pandemic. How would you describe your clients' behavior and appetite for travel um, between the two?
So I think And now prior to the pandemic, I had not been in the industry super long, but
Yeah.
long enough to get a good feel.
Yeah.
Um, I think, the pandemic it shut everything down for so long, and certain
Mhm.
countries were shut down for even longer, and
Yep.
that was huge for people, and when people were able to go back out into the world freely, they wanted to go everywhere and to
Yeah.
far-flung places that,
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily on their radar in 2017 or 18, and then all of a sudden it's like, "I wanna go to Marrakesh." Everyone wants to go to Mar or, wherever the case may be. So,
Right.
I think definitely, you've still got, the Europe. People wanna go to France. People wanna go to, London, the UK, those areas, Spain, whatnot. But then you've got a lot more people now that are wanting to even go further.
Mhm.
But I would say one of the big things is that people want exclusive access to certain things
Mm.
that you can't Google online.
Right.
That's another thing that I love about the partners that we work with is a lot
Right.
of the things that we can offer. You can't
Not
you can't just go on, whatever, Viator and book it. And so that those things are important because a lot of times people do come to us and they say, "We don't want just a run-of-the-mill trip. We want to create these core memories that we could not create for all these years." Or maybe the pandemic was like, "Hey, this is a wake-up call that we don't have this our lives are short, and we wanna be able to have these amazing experiences to share with our family so that
uh-huh.
they have those memories, for years to come." So I think there's a little bit more desire to see things differently and not
Yeah.
just check the box. I
Yeah.
think that's been a really big thing is most people don't just wanna check a box. They wanna
Yeah.
have experience.
And what I have witnessed, I haven't been planning travel that, for a very long time, but, I see the booking report come through every single week, and it just seems like the willingness to spend on travel has changed dramatically, where people you would bump up to a limit and then people would be like, "Okay, that's as much as I'm spending." And after I mean, the hotel average daily rates just like went up astronomically and people, I mean, they might have balked at it, but they still paid for it.
And yes, that has definitely been surprising. At some point, I'm like, is there gonna be a cap to this? Because some
Yeah.
things have gotten just really, oh
Yeah.
my goodness. But yeah, people, if it's something they want to do and something they're passionate about, they will spend the money.
Mhm. Kinda like what you said about if you're gonna do Disney, you're gonna stay at the Four Seasons and do the VIP day pass all 3 days. And, you know, you probably don't really care what it costs, the VIP pass, right? It's kinda like, if I'm doing Disney, I'm gonna do that, and it is what it is. That's how much it costs, so that's what I'm gonna spend.
What the cost is. And I think for people in that, for people in that position, a lot of those people they're like, "We're gonna do this once, and then the
Mhm.
next trip is gonna be another, well, we're gonna do this once." Like, I
Yeah.
have several families who have come to us and said, "We want a 5-year plan. We want an 8-year plan,"
Oh, I
because they've
love
got 3 or 4 kids or 4 or 5 kids
yeah.
or whatever, and they're like, "We want to hit these places before this one graduates high
Yep.
school."
Mhm.
We work out a plan with them. And they may travel 2 or 3 times a year, but they wanna go somewhere and they want it to be great and they wanna have these amazing experiences. And then the next trip is gonna be somewhere different. They're not going back to Disney to do another 3 days of VIP. Like they did that. That was a family trip. And now they wanna go to Spain or they wanna go out west and do a really great trip out there, or whatever the case may be. So I think that's why there's also the difference in cost and the value of the cost.
Mhm.
They see the value as the experience
Absolutely.
and the
Yeah.
time, and they want it they understand, "Yes, this is gonna cost me more money, but I'm getting this experience, I'm doing it once, and I'm gonna do it right."
And it's gonna create memories that we will talk about for years and years and years,
Yeah,
and
my own children talk about
yes.
it. They went when they were 2.
Yes. Alright, let's talk about that. I love that because I have had this experience, I know you probably had this experience too. It's like, the fact that you do what you do now gives you the ability to travel with your own family in ways that you may never have even knew existed, And like, don't you just love seeing your kids become these world travelers and talk about the fact that they've been to Italy God knows how many times,
Yeah.
um, and they probably come back and they eat better. They're not so picky at with food, and they're much more willing to try new things, and it completely changes children as especially in those molding years. Um, what have you noticed about having kids and being able to travel like this with them?
Well, I mean, it's truly amazing to have these opportunities. And
Mhm.
this
Yep.
past summer, we did a family trip. My husband came for a portion of the time, and then I stayed in Italy for additional 2 weeks because there were some
Wow.
things I needed to see for work. And
Right.
I can't leave my kids at home, and they're
Yep.
great ages that they can travel. And
Yep.
I was like, "Look, I want your opinion on, did you enjoy
Yeah.
this? Did you not?" There were some things they did, some things they didn't.
Oh my
And so,
gosh.
for my kids at this point, they've traveled quite a bit. But I think what is really interesting is when we are, say we're with a group of people or with friends or whatever. And I mean, I'll have parents say to me, like, you can tell your kids have been places. Like, my kids
Yes.
can sit at any table. They may
Yeah.
not eat, you put something crazy in front of them, like an octopus, maybe they won't eat it.
Yeah.
But they can sit at any table. They can have a conversation with any
Right.
adult. And I think when you're taking them to different cultures and having them experience different things, it just broadens their horizon so that they are able to have and I tell them all the time, the manners are for you, not for me, because
Mhm.
these manners and these experiences will serve you better in life
Absolutely.
because they've had those opportunities.
Mhm.
I think that's really important. I mean, I used to have people say, "Why would you take your kid there?" And when they were younger, I was like, "Well, they may not remember it, but I will." And
Yeah.
my experience and my memories are just as important as the ones that they are now getting and they remember. And so
Mhm.
I think it's important, if you're able and willing to do it. And there's a
Yep.
difference. Some people are able but not willing, and some people are willing but not able. And so when you
Right.
have both and you're willing and able to go and have these experiences, it's really special. It's really special for your family.
I love that. This has gone by so fast. You're such a good interview.
Thank you.
I unpack for another 2 hours with you. Um, but we're at the very end of our time, and so I definitely want to ask my favorite question of all time, which is, um, now that you've been a travel entrepreneur for over 5 years, let's just say that, um, what tell us about one of your favorite moments, pinch me, "Oh my god, I can't believe I get to do this for a living," moments that you've had as, a travel entrepreneur.
So, and we touched on this a little bit at the beginning. I think the very first year of being nominated, and I still have no idea who nominated me, but being nominated for Condé Nast, and of course being
Yep.
part of the top travel specialist with Condé Nast, that was really a pitch me moment
Oh my gosh,
because I
yeah.
felt like I was still pretty early on. It was still kind of
Yeah.
like the pandemic, and so and to stay there for the past 3 years has been great. And then also, I think just I and this I'll make this story quick, but I met who's now a client who is now a really good friend. And it was a casual encounter at the Four Seasons in Austin. I was actually there with my husband because he had a meeting. And we just hit it off, started talking. I never knew is she going to turn into a client or not, but it did.
Right.
And then it turned into a really amazing friendship. And she has been a great referral source for us. But more than anything, I think just that moment of travel goes way, way beyond just travel planning. It's the human connection and the friends that you make along the way that really are like you sit back and go, wow, this has been a great experience. And you just kind of pinch yourself and go, this is my life. I've met people from all over the world and I love that. I love
Yeah.
that aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I was gonna ask you what is your favorite thing about your business, but in my head, I was kinda like, I know what she's gonna say. She's gonna say it's your clients.
It's meeting
And I
people.
love when that is the answer because I think people don't realize, like, they think oh, you get into this business because you love to travel and then you get to experience travel all the time and you travel for work, all that stuff. But, and maybe that's the case for some people, but what I have observed is that so many more people will say the best thing about this business is working with the clients. I love my clients. They're amazing. And I feel so grateful that I get to work with people like this every single day.
Yeah. That is
Yeah.
100%. It's the people, the people.
Yeah.
And I always tell people too, you're going into this industry and you don't travel for free. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, you have to decide like what is really a benefit to my business if I'm going to take a trip because it's time away from the office, it's expense. And
Yeah.
so I would never say I mean, that may be a primary reason for people to get into the industry, but to stay there, it's the people.
It's the people and not just the clients, right? Our partners, like the travel industry employs some really cool people.
I mean,
And most of the people who work,
oh, yeah. It's
yeah,
people. It's the people that you connect with and,
yeah,
form these lifelong friendships. So
yeah. Well, this has been amazing. So thank you so much for joining us. If anybody wants to get a hold of you and have H Luxury Travel plan their next journey, how would they get a hold of you?
So our website, hluxurytravel.com. Of course, we're always available on Instagram. And then my email directly is julianne@hluxurytravel.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julie Ann. This has been awesome. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank
See you
you.
on the next one.